it seems to have been quite a while since we did this.
Yes, I have been and gone and come back and...
Been around and up and down and over.
Oh, yeah.
Under?
No. I went under bridges.
That works.
Yeah, in boats, no less.
Oh. I'm on a boat. Can't sing that song. Can't sing that song on this podcast.
No. This is a family podcast, everyone.
Indeed
Yes.
it is.
Yes, so I have come back from the UK and it was absolutely brilliant. I'm already planning my next trip.
Yes, she is.
I like travelling. I love travelling. I love meeting people, obviously, or else I wouldn't be doing what I do.
True.
And yeah, I am planning my next one.
But that's going to be a family trip, so that's all good.
It will be a family trip. I am not travelling anywhere by myself ever again. Until the next time.
Still pretty impressive.
It is.
Doing a good
4.5 weeks. 4.5 weeks of travelling all over the UK. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I met so many new people. Hi, Jess.
Hi, Jess.
I met a lot of people and we're all friends on Facebook now. So I'm absolutely loving it. Loved it. My favourite place was Scotland, I think, really. The Highlands of Scotland.
Cool beastie.
Cool beastie. Cool beasties. That's so cute. Okay, but now I'm back in Australia and I'm still trying to come down from the holiday, and also the plane trip. I seem to suffer some sort of vertigo and I'm still bouncing.
Well, let's
speaking of bouncing,
we'll bounce into this very special What the History on the other side of our theme.
I like what you did there with that segue. Well done.
Woohoo, segues.
Woo!
What the...
History.
Hello and welcome to the What the History podcast. The podcast that has bits of bizarre history to make you say, what the history? I am one of your hosts, Trevor Holland, and I am joined by the wonderful...
Globetrotting Suzie Holland.
Woo-hoo, and happy birthday to What the History.
Woo, 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 woo. This is our birthday episode.
We are now in the terrible twos. Our first officially launched podcast, not counting the one that we snuck out earlier on the Rufus Project feed, Rufus Project, hint hint, came out on October 11th, 2016.
That's right.
Wow. And if I remember, that will also be the night this year that this podcast goes up. Wish me luck.
Yes, it does. Well, we're going to do it that way because I thought, we'll keep with history. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll give it a show. Give it a go.
Give it a show.
Give it a show.
We'll give it a show as well.
Give it a go show. So, for our second birthday, we thought, why not look at the last 12 months and pick out some of our favourite What the Histories from each other and ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so what we do is we do a condensed version of the stories that we liked from each other and stories that we liked of ourselves.
Some more condensed than others, I think.
Yeah, okay, look, I did my best.
No, it's not. I know, I've got more information on some of mine than the other one, so it's all good.
Yes, I did my best, and yeah, because I'm not...
and
really condensed stuff.
This is not an order of preference. It was very, very, very hard to pick, and there may well be overlap.
There will be overlapped. Yeah.
Okay.
There will be. Yeah. We've already discussed this.
Yeah. Well, behind the magic of podcasting...
God, you talk. The magic of podcast. Well, it is a magical show that we have.
Indeed we do. So, Suzie, would you like to kick us off with your first choice? I think we'll do each other ones first. And then we'll do our own.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to do one story that came out that Trev called Spring-Loaded Vice. Now, this is a story where pinball machines were once banned in various parts of America for over 30 years, as it was believed that pinball... I love this. was a game of chance and not of skill. Oh dear.
Naughty pinball.
Oh dear. And Trev loves pinball, so this was a really good one for him to do. He really enjoyed it. Okay, now this classification of being a game of chance and not of skill, we got into the section called gambling. Ooh. Now, because it also had apparent links to the Chicago Mafia and was forced underground until 1976 when New York was facing bankruptcy, and then it was decided that the licensing of pinball tables would be a good idea to supply revenue. And suddenly pinball was back in the good books, well, sort of good books, despite it already being cleared 2 years earlier by the Supreme Court of the good old USA of being a game of skill and not chance. So to get the space, though, to get to the space, I should say, where pinball was actually in the good books, they had to have a pinball demonstration which proved once and for all that it was a game of skill and not chance. So what I'm inviting you guys to do is to go back, if you want to hear more about this, go back and you'll get the whole thing in absolute detail. Because like I said, this is condensed.
It is condensed.
It is condensed.
It is condensed.
Which I absolutely love this episode because I was also watching Timeless at the time. I love you, Timeless. I miss you so much. It's a TV show, by the way, guys. And in the very first episode called Pilot, one of the ladies, I think her name was Kate, and she was a reporter, and she was playing a game of pinball in the 1930s. I think it was 30s. Oh, gosh.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the day that the Hindenburg exploded. And it was brilliant. I went, Trev, look, she's playing pinball. You only see it for a very split second, so he didn't get that excited. But anyway, spring-loaded advice.
I wanted to see what she was playing.
I know.
They didn't show me.
I know.
And it wasn't on Google.
I know. We tried to even get footage to slow it down. But yes. Yeah. Well, so check out that episode, Spring-Loaded Advice. It's really good.
Oh, thank you. And this goes with Spring Heel Terror.
Oh, did you do Spring Heel Jack?
No, I didn't do Spring Heel Jack on my list. But
Yes. Sorry.
That was, yes. But
Yep.
definitely up there with one of the ones that I was considering for this list.
Yeah, it went together with Spring Heel Jack.
Yes, indeed it did.
Yeah, so check those out.
But instead, I decided to have a look back at our episode, The Tasty Shed and the Dire Digits. Now, I respect a good prank, and if it's one played on something contemporary, even better. So I really felt I had to applaud Uber Butler for his genius plan to take his backyard shed and create a fake restaurant on TripAdvisor, complete with fake tables, food, and even his toe standing in for bacon as part of a bacon and egg dish on the fake website that he put up for it. Now, he could have stopped this once the shed, as he called it, reached the top of TripAdvisor's list of London restaurants, thanks to a network of friends helping out. But he took it all the way by opening up as a secret restaurant for just one night, serving disguised microwave food with a DJ playing restaurant noises to cover the ding of the microwave oven. Oh, boy.
I love
Genius.
you, Uber. No, unfortunately, I didn't get to Dulwich, which is where this story is set, on my recent trip. Uber has gone on to do some other pranks as well, so please check him out on YouTube. His name is Uber Butler. That's OOBAH, and Butler as in one who buttles.
Yes, I'm a butler. I buttle. I'm a butler, not a catcher.
What? No.
Dead men don't wear plaid.
Oh, yeah, I remember that movie.
Yeah.
So, we love Uber.
Absolutely. We're going to get so distracted in this episode, but hey, that's fine.
Yeah, it's our birthday, so we can pretty much do whatever we want.
Indeed. So, what would be your next choice?
My next choice is the story of Shizo Kanekuri. This came along in the story called The Long Run. And Shizo represented Japan at the 1912 Stockholm Olympic Games in the marathon. And Chisel didn't get many opportunities to train prior to the games, and he was a bit ill, but he still made it to the starting line on a very hot 32 degrees Celsius day. Now, that's around 90 degrees Fahrenheit for our American listeners.
Not good.
No, he hadn't drunk any liquids prior to the race because he believed that sweating increased fatigue, and he managed to make it almost halfway through the race before passing out on the course from hyperthermia, which is extreme overheating. And he was helped by a couple who took him home and gave him drinks and provided him with a safe place to rest, bless their little hearts. And when he left their house, Chisel decided to retire from the race because he was a bit embarrassed and slipped peacefully back to Japan because he was, like I said, embarrassed that he was unable to finish the race. And this actually caused him to be listed as missing in Sweden for 50 years. And he was listed in the 1916 games in Berlin, but he was prevented from participating by the First World War. And the Swedish police eventually worked out what had happened and invited Chisel to come back to Sweden under the guise of the anniversary of the games in 1967, where he found he was a bit of a legend. And he was asked if he'd like to complete the race. And Chisel was delighted to. And at the end, his time was read out of, wait for it, 54 years, 8 months, 32 minutes and 20.3 seconds. Now, that's a record that still stands today of the longest marathon ever. So, we love Chisel.
Oh, he was a legend. And an absolute hero in Japan, despite his early non-successes.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
Yeah, the officials decided to say that, it wasn't his fault. He had a lot of things against him and he should not be held accountable for that. So they actually came to the party and Sweden just went, oops.
Yep. But yeah, he ended up championing and being declared the father of Japanese marathon running in his home country. So he was a very dedicated, determined young fellow.
Good on him. We really like him.
He was great.
He rocks.
I like Chisel. I like his record of 54 years, 8 months, 32 minutes and 20.3 seconds.
I could tell you, me running a marathon, I would probably take that long myself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Me running a marathon, I probably wouldn't even finish.
No, it'd be like the hare and the tortoise sort of thing. You wouldn't want to be going anywhere.
Oh, good old Chisel.
Bless you.
Yes. I just want to make a segue. No, I've got no segue.
No, you got nothing on
that.
No,
I got nothing. I got nothing because I'm going to discuss what was perhaps the greatest defeat in Napoleonic history. From our episodes Bunny Battles and Catty Tactics. So this is where when Napoleon organised a hunting party.
Napoleon Bonaparte, that is.
Yes, Napoleon Bonaparte. That Napoleon Bonaparte.
Emperor of France.
Mm-hmm. And he got his chief of staff out, who rounded up about 3,000 rabbits to be hunted, and things went a bit pear-shaped. As the rabbits that were used were domesticated instead of wild. Now, you wouldn't think that would be too much of an issue. But when they were released from the cages, instead of fleeing into the woods for sport, the critters turned on their would-be hunters and moved in looking for bunny treats. Even knocking Napoleon off his feet and forcing the hunting party to retreat. Again, 3,000 hungry rabbits looking for treats. One article even claimed that they even got into Napoleon's carriage, meaning the emperor was flinging rabbits from his escape vehicle as he fled the ravenous creatures.
Oh, the Battle of Trafalgar has got absolutely nothing on that.
Oh, magical.
Can you just imagine him flinging them out of the carriage? Off with you!
I'm well and truly on the rabbit side this time around.
Yeah, good on you, rabbit.
I mean, really, hunting rabbits, how much point can you get out of that, you great
big numpty. And he wasn't as short as everyone thought.
No.
That's another little historical fact. Okay. Now that I've calmed down a bit from the, oh God, I just love that story so much. It's one where you read through it and just go, What? What? What?
And oh yeah,
that's always a good caliber of a what the history story. If it makes you go what the, and just what the, oh my, what?
And it was very difficult for me not to pick the Egyptian army being defeated by cats as one of mine, which is the one that went with that one.
You did quite a few animal ones. Really? You did the cats, you did the dogs, and you did the bunny. Oh no, that was me. The pigeons.
The pigeons.
The pigeons. Oh, rock on pigeons. Okay, rightio. My last one that I love of Trev's is the story of the pranks of Horace van der Kolk, with particular reference to the HMS Dreadnought and the Bunga Bunga affair. Oh dear. Okay. Now, Horace van der Kolk, he loved playing pranks on people. He really did. My favourite one of his, where he asked someone to hold a piece of string and he went around the corner and asked somebody else to hold another piece of string. Was that it?
Yeah.
Then he ran off, and so what he saw was two people holding pieces of string around the corner from each other and just standing there holding this piece of string while he ran off and laughed his head off.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just
a very cheeky man.
Oh gosh. Okay, well, the HMS Dreadnought obviously was a ship in the English Navy, and there was the prank with the Abyssinian princes. He had several of his friends, including one Virginia Woolf, who obviously was female, dress up as Abyssinian princes, and he spoke to them in a mixture of Swahili and another African language.
No, I think it was Swahili and Latin.
Swahili and Latin, and with a bit of gibberish in between to make it sound a bit more African. Because he didn't really know those languages very well. So they refused all drink and food on the ship in case they said it went against their religious beliefs, and it was so that their makeup wouldn't get rubbed off them if they handled food. And when they got excited or happy about something, they would all go bunga bunga bunga. So it was known as the Bunga Bunga affair, when it eventually was found out to be a prank, and the head of the Navy was very, very embarrassed.
Yes.
And yes, and Horace van der Kolk, he went on to do some other pranks as well, and was a fair bit cheeky, and he actually ended up being the brother-in-law of Neville Chamberlain, who was the Prime Minister at that time. A bit later on, obviously. But yeah, he was cheeky. He was as cheeky as cheeky.
Yes, indeed. Maybe mention him again a bit later on.
Yes.
Being a prankster. Now, to finish off, I guess, us patting each other's backs before we pat our own. Now, I'm going to refer to the episode Riotous Behaviour and the Fleeing Nun, where there was a collection of tales that Suzie told that still has me shaking my head. There was the absolute chaos caused by John Hetherington wearing the first top hat in 1797, where, to quote Susie's story, women fainted, children screamed, and dogs yelped out at the sight of John and his hat. End quote. He was fined, but he refused to stop wearing his top hat. Scandalous.
He is very scandalous, but good on him. You wear that hat, John. Mm-hmm. You wear that hat with pride.
And also to the gents who insisted on wearing their straw hats after September of 1922. Outside of straw hat season, no less.
Didn't know there was a season.
In America. I didn't actually know where it was, but I think New York was one of the places this happened.
It could have been.
But absolute bedlam occurred where people were being attacked and straw hats were being shredded and destroyed, leading to Judge Peter Hatting to declare...
I love his name.
...that anyone could wear a straw hat even in, end quote, a January snowstorm if he wishes.
That's right.
End quote.
Love it.
Now, I feel sorry, though, for the models who wore the first trouser skirts in a Parisian fashion parade in 1911. The crowd was so outraged by this fashion that after the show they descended on the models and took and destroyed the models' hats.
All this hat abuse.
I know. Was there ever anything where hats weren't hurt? Like the outrage at a clothing optional resort in northern Queensland in 2009.
Where else but Queensland?
Which was the complete opposite when a number of nudists staged a mini riot when a couple refused to remove their clothes on the beach, leading to these overclad interlopers being escorted from the beach by police. So no hats were harmed. So that's a relief.
Oh, Queensland.
Oh, dear.
This is your home state, mate. It's not my home state.
There's a lot I could say about Queensland history, but I don't want to get political.
No, we can't get political.
No. There's a big what there I could do,
no.
but it would be very political.
Yeah, so we don't like to get too political on this. Though, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I think if I may go first this time.
You may go first.
We'll switch over to our own favourites.
Is this where we just go, yay us?
Yay us indeed. And yeah, so I'm going to start with the unsinkable story and the story detective. Francois Eugene Vedot. This is a man who lived a life. How can you not like this man who started out as a thief, ran away to join the circus, was a master of disguise, and was arrested many times only to escape from prison in all manner of daring ways. Yet ultimately he worked with the police, was the father of forensic anthropometrics, and developed a special paper and ink that ended up being used to prevent counterfeiting of money before creating the first private detective agency in 1834.
Well done.
The cherry on top is how popular he was with authors in his later life, hanging out with the likes of Victor Hugo, Honoré de Balzac, Eugène Sue, and Alexandre Dumas. As such, there is a little mystery that many consider Francois the inspiration for Jean Valjean from Les Miserables, Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot, and even Sherlock Holmes. As a little extra, players in Assassin's Creed Unity have the opportunity to spend some time with the young Francois, working with him to solve a murder mystery in Paris. I really need to play that game sometime soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, good on him. Okay. Now we're going to get back to one for me. Now, this is from a story I did called It's Hysterical. Okay. Now, this is a story of a hoax within a hoax. Now, as I went through the UK, as an aside, I plugged What the History, like you wouldn't believe.
Woohoo!
And I told some people about this one and they got really excited about it. So I'm hoping that this will give inspiration to go back and see the whole story of it, because I really love this, because it was one that's just, you just go, oh yeah, this is what happened. And then when you read further in, it's like, oh, there's a whole little other subsection here. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so this is a story of a hoax within a hoax. In 1938, actor and director Orson Welles produced and starred in a CBS radio show with the Mercury Theatre Group. It has gone down in history as some of the most frightening radio ever, as it told the eyewitness, now I'm doing that in air quotes, I hope you can hear that, the eyewitness accounts of an alien invasion, when what they were really listening to was a dramatisation of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. It was only after Orson came forward and apologised after hearing stories of people actually taking the attack, doing air quotes there again, as gospel, and stories of mass hysteria. Now that's the first hoax. The second hoax was the stories of mass hysteria, again in air quotes, was also made up by the newspapers to discredit its nemesis, the radio. It's a great example of fake news and how mass media can be used to frighten the daylights out of people, similar to today. So go back and have a listen to that, because I really love doing that, because it was like, oh, all these little bits and pieces.
Yeah. Let's move on, because I feel like I'm going to get political again.
Oh dear. When Trev gets political.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
It's okay, hon. It's all right.
Now, look, this next one, I know it really wasn't a full story, as it formed part of our What the Christmas episode, which is definitely going to have a listen to as we get further into the year. But how could I possibly ignore the Yavler goat?
Oh, bless us.
The giant straw goat constructed in the town of Gävle, Sweden, every year for their Yuletide festivities. It's famous, or perhaps even infamous, would be more accurate, as since the establishment of the tradition in 1966, it has been burnt down on various occasions, had fireworks shot at it, been hit by a Volvo. An American tourist was convinced it was traditional to set fire to it, and proceeded to. It had men disguised as Father Christmas and a gingerbread man shooting flaming arrows at it, and there was a plot to steal it with a helicopter that was foiled in 2010. Happily, the 2017 goat made it through, and I like to think that somehow we helped that to happen.
I think we did.
We were keeping an eye on it.
We were keeping an eye on it every day.
We had the webcam open on the computer non-stop.
Yep. We had to make sure the Yavler goat had actually survived another night. No, we got fully invested in this Yavler goat.
I mean, it's a 4-story high straw goat. I mean, you've got to respect that.
And we saw it covered in snow.
Oh, it was so great.
Oh, it's because it gets really hot here in summer, obviously around our Christmas time.
Saw security guards doing patrols in the middle of their night.
Yeah, you rock, man. Okay, my next story is the pat on the back story of the Moberly-Jourdain incident, wherein I should start with the actual name of it.
Oh,
sorry, guys. I called this one "Let's Do the Time Warp Again." Let's do the time warp again. Okay, and this was the story of the Moberly-Jourdain incident, where in 1901, 2 English women of apparent, notable, excellent reputation, that was all in quotes as well, from Oxford, in England, Eleanor Jourdain and Charlotte Moberly, who visited Versailles on a day trip in France. They both witnessed several incidents which coincided with accounts of the lead-up to the deaths of Louis XVI and his queen, Marie Antoinette, as they both fled Paris to Versailles during the French Revolution. Eleanor and Charlotte's stories differed somewhat, but they both came to the same conclusion. They both witnessed a period of time captured in the past. They wrote a book about it under pseudonyms, and it sold very well, which had several notable authors at the time saying that it was to be taken as absolute word.
Yeah, very, very interesting story in that it wasn't just a couple of strangers, 2 very well-respected academic women claiming to have these visions and experiences. So, yeah.
And they both had the same feelings, or mostly the same feelings, as they were walking through the places where they went, and they actually went back to see it again later on, but they found they couldn't find any evidence of the things they had seen before. Their various even structures had gone from their first encounter, and they couldn't find the evidence of their first encounter. So it was that story has always grabbed me, and I don't know. I'd like to have that experience as well. I want to see something from the past.
Yeah, maybe researching this a bit easier.
Yeah, actually going back and doing eyewitness accounts.
Oof.
Wouldn't we be popular?
Nice. You got a spare time machine, you know where to find us.
Yes, we'd like your time machine. Thank you. We'd like to borrow it for a period of time.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Now for my third one, we are going to. Well, it's an overlap, and that's fine. So I also have to pay tribute to the prankster Horace van der Veer Cole from our Highland Haunts and Jeopardy Jaunts episode. So yes, Horace went from tricking his college into believing he and a friend were visiting dignitaries from Zanzibar to the simple of getting someone to hold the end of a rope for him and going around the corner to the other victim to do the same and then fleeing the scene. I do also like the other tale of him organising a party where all the guests discovered he had only invited people with the word bottom in their surnames. This guy, so mature, so great. His more grand schemes included passing out free tickets to a show, but only to bald men, so that when they took their seats, a rude word could be seen spelled out across the audience from their gleaming heads in the lights. And challenging a prominent member of Parliament in a running race, slipping his watch into the unfortunate man's pocket and yelling, "Stop thief!" at the running man.
God, he's cheeky.
And yes, of course, the ultimate prank was Horace and his friends, including the young Virginia Woolf, disguising themselves as the Emperor of Abyssinia and his entourage to fill high-ranking members of the British Navy and to give them a guided tour of the HMS Dreadnought. But it was docked near Weymouth in England. Oh, this guy. And yeah, like I said in the actual episode, I didn't list anywhere near all the pranks that this guy has been held accountable for. So it's definitely a good episode to go back to for even more absolute craziness. And he's definitely a guy that you would not regret looking into his career.
He is so funny. But yeah, he's very mature.
Oh, so mature. I'm not even going to mention the coward. I'll leave you to find that one out for yourselves.
Yeah, go on and research it. That's what we like here on What the History. We like our listeners to go and research themselves as well. Research for themselves, I should say. If you want to research yourself, go right ahead. Yeah, go out there and research for yourself and see what else you can find. The world is full of really weird things.
The world is full of history.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Party on, dude. I don't know, can we say that?
I'm sure we can say that.
We're not going to get in trouble.
I don't think we're going to get in trouble. I mean, I've already quoted from another movie, so...
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it's going to be fine.
Okay, all right. Well, my last story is a guy that I really liked researching, and it was one of those stories where you just go, oh my God, he did this, and oh, he did this, he did this, and you know, you just go, why is this guy not more well known? But anyway, the story of Matthias Sindelar, the star striker and captain of the Austrian football team in my story called Wonder Man. And the Austria at the time, in 1938, was annexed by Germany. And that wasn't very well received by many Austrians. Least of all, Matthias. He was absolutely devastated that his country was taken over by Germany. And if you know, 1938, this is the start, well, which would go into the Second World War, and things got really, really messed up. And I know that we say we don't get political in here, but I really don't like Nazis.
We can say Nazis suck.
We can say Nazis suck. Okay, what they did to so many countries and people around the world. Gosh, okay. I'm not going to say any more about that because I want to talk to you about Matthias because he is much more interesting than a bunch of old Nazis. Okay. Okay, now in his youth, Matthias was known as the Mozart of football due to his less forceful playing. Because he had an old knee injury, so he couldn't be a very direct striker. He had to do it a bit more delicately. And he was also known as the paper man because he was thin and was able to weave in and out of his opponents. So no doubt he was picked up really early on in the piece by various football teams in Austria. And so when 1938 happened and the annexation, the Nazis decided to have we don't feel any animosity towards you guys at all. No, not at all. And so after they forced many of Matthias's football team out of the football team because of their Jewish ancestry or something like this, they decided to play a game, like I was mentioning before, between old Austria and this new Austro-German side, which contained a lot of Aryan-looking people in it, of course. Okay, so, and they also told him, hey, Matthias and old Austria, be a good sport and don't score any goals. We need to make sure that everyone is looking at us and all this sort of thing. And Matthias, he thought about it, I reckon, for about half a second. And he let the game go for about the first half where they didn't score anything. There was no goals scored either side. But by the second half, Matthias and his teammates got a little bit fed up with the other side and what they represented. So he decided to not toe the party line, and him and his teammates scored 2 goals against this Austro-German side. And they weren't very impressed with him. No. No, and so after the end of the game, with the old Austrian side winning, Matthias actually did a little victory dance in front of the Nazis' official box, which would have made them a little bit more peed off with him. And so basically, Matthias didn't like how his country was going. They didn't like how his game was being taken over. But he was able to leave football. He retired from football because the Nazis obviously wanted to get him involved with their side and to make their team better. He said no, citing age and his old knee injury. So then he bought a little business, and him and his girlfriend, set up the business. It was, I think it was a bar and cafe, and, basically went about their lives and just, they catered to Jews and non-Jews alike. They had friends in both areas. They were basically a friendly bunch to everyone. But in 1939, him and his girlfriend Camilla were actually found dead of carbon monoxide poisoning above their cafe in their flat. And many people think it was murder, that he was murdered by the Gestapo for his beliefs and not really wanting to toe the line and still keeping friends, Jewish friends and non-Jewish friends. And yeah. So I really, really admire Matthias for not towing the party line. Yeah, absolutely. And for, just living life the way he wanted to. And, he was, from all accounts, a very kind, generous man who apparently was murdered for his beliefs. And that makes him awesome in my book. Absolutely. Not the fact that he's dead, of course, but basically, thumbing his nose at the Third Reich. Which makes him a hero in my book. Yep. And I love Matthias. And that's why this guy deserves to be remembered. That's right. He should be remembered. He was also known as the pre-war Pele. So not and he's brilliant. Yeah, not every story on What the History is a crazy, wacky bit of fun, but some of them are really, really important. That's right. And this is one of them. No doubt that this one is right up there. Yep. Yeah. So rock on, mate. Woo! Absolutely. So there you go. There's some of our favourites from the past year of What the History. We'd also love to hear if you had any faves yourselves. That's right. You can easily get in touch with us. You can head to our homepage at wthpod.rufusproject.com. Leave a comment below this very episode. You can find the What the History podcast page on Facebook. Find us at pod_what on Twitter. Or send us an email to wthpod@rufusproject.com. Because we'd love to hear from you. That's right. And we would love to hear things that you found out and bizarre bits of history that you want to share with us. We love this stuff.
It is so good.
We love sharing, caring, sharing.
And we're 2 years in, and our list of potential topics still keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh, there's so much out there. So good.
So it's our list of listeners. So thank you very much for staying with us. And for those who have just joined us, welcome to our crazy world.
And you can definitely head back to that homepage if you want to hear our full back catalogue. We know that only the last 9 or 10 appear in the podcast feed.
Was it Podcast Addict? Is that what's called?
Well, it all turns into iTunes. That's
okay. All right. Yes, sorry.
Yes.
Go on.
and
Continue on.
So yeah, definitely head back. Now, the references at the bottom of this episode will be the links to the relevant episodes that we did discuss. Normally, we put a nice big list of our references down there anyway. So you can click on any of our episodes and find all the links if you want to find out more about any of these wonderful bits of history we discuss.
That's right.
Oh.
We love doing this. We love it. It brings us together
Oh,
more.
yes. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since I got back.
Yeah. Sitting down and recording.
Yep. Monday night I got back. Yeah.
It's the first What the History using our upgraded microphone as well.
I know.
It's like a proper radio microphone.
Oh, I feel special.
This is pretty special.
I feel professional.
And
then they laughed and laughed and laughed.
Now, if you want something a bit more visual with nice pictures to go with what we discuss, you can also head to the Rufus Project YouTube channel to get the enhanced version of this, which is basically us still talking, but it's got pretty pictures that zoom in and move around.
It does. And Trev gets to show off his visual skills. He's pretty good. Yeah, you are.
Okay, fine. And I think on that note, thank you for joining us for our second birthday.
Woo!
Party blow time. Pop. That's me pouring champagne. No, it's not.
Yeah, you don't like champagne.
Shh.
I don't like champagne either.
Have a beer
I
later.
like cider.
Have a beer later.
Oh, Mortimer cider. I found that in London. It's great. We don't endorse alcohol on this show. I just like to say.
But in the meantime, cheers.
Cheers.
And we will be back in a couple of weeks with some more bizarre bits of history to make you say, what the history.
Good night, everyone.
Farewell. Don't know why I saluted.
I don't know why you did either.
We let out a joyful sound and sing that stupid song. Happy birthday! Now you're 1 year older. Happy birthday! Your life still isn't over. Happy birthday! You did not accomplish much, but you didn't die this year. I guess that's good enough.